welcome back to my channel for another video. Today I will be starting a series called The Guide to Grown, and the series will be running all of July and all of August, so every video that goes up on a Tuesday will be a part of the series. And so this one is going to be focused on, I guess, living off campus, moving off campus, apartments, interior decorating, all that good stuff, and it'll run again from July to August. And so today's video is on the most important part about moving off campus or getting your own apartment, and that would be budgeting for it, figuring out how you're gonna pay for it. Because girl, especially in Atlanta, apartments is expensive, hunty, like real expensive, and figuring out how you're gonna pay for it is of utmost importance. So again, I have the notes on my phone, so if you see me looking down, that is why. And we're just gonna hop right into it. So the most important part about budgeting for your apartment and moving to an apartment is research. Do your research. You need to know exactly what you want and what you can get for what you have to spend, and how to basically mesh those two together. So a great place to check that is Zillow. Zillow will tell you approximately, if you put in a zip code, it'll tell you approximately what things are running for in that area, just like an approximation. So again, I go to Spelman, and I don't want to live more than 20 minutes away from campus in any direction, which means most people live in Midtown. I live in Midtown. Midtown is expensive to live in. It is very expensive to live in. Therefore, I had to know, okay, this is what I got to make work. If I can't afford a one bedroom, if one bedroom is too expensive, you can't afford that, then you automatically know, boop, boop, I need to get a roommate. Let me get a roommate so I can make this work for myself, all right? And again, not all comes out in research. Not all is a part of understanding the market that you are in. Real estate is real, and I feel like people don't think about it as intensely when they're just renting apartments, but you need to do that same amount of research. Do you want to rent an apartment or do you want to rent a house? Typically, renting a house is a little bit less expensive because you get more space for less money, but you also need roommates, so you're going to take in a roommate. And it's give and take, because renting houses is also more difficult. You need proven income and a whole lot of stuff that you typically don't need for apartments, and renting houses is typically also a longer process than renting an apartment is. And so again, doing your research. And I think the easiest way to organize all of that research is a spreadsheet. I had endless spreadsheets just filled with the names of the apartments that I was looking at, the distance to campus. So like the apartment name, distance to campus, square footage, amenities, and extra expenses I had to pay along with like the rent base, and then all extra expenses like your utilities, because that, again, that's another thing that comes out when you're doing your research, is are utilities, is water included in this? Is there an additional bill that I need to pay? So on and so forth. And then once I narrowed it down to an apartment, the next most important thing I had to do was make then another spreadsheet, which I will insert like up around here. And it was like the rent for the months I needed to pay. I moved on the summer. I moved in August, which means I knew before my refund check came, I needed to have August and September's rent, because refund checks, especially at HBCUs, do not come in so late. And then I knew, okay, so it was like rent for August and September, $2,300. Apartment move-in fees, it was $70 just to move in. Georgia Power setup fees, around $200. My water, trash, and pet fees, so other utilities, another $150. And then my furniture, $1,500, because I moved into an unfurnished apartment. And so I needed to buy a whole apartment's worth of furniture. It's about $1,500. My total was $4,220, which means before I can move, I need to make sure I have $4,220 saved up. How do you save up that money? Quite frankly, most people who move off campus have already been at Spelman. Like if you're moving off as an upperclassman, that means hopefully you will have gotten some sort of refund check in the past, which means I saved my refund checks from my freshman year and used that as the base. And then I also went back home and I worked, and I didn't spend no money I made that summer. I spent money on transportation back and forth to work, and the rest went straight to my savings account, because I need to make sure all of that money was saved, and you need to have some on top of that as a buffer. And again, because again, you don't have that money, you cannot move. Do not move to a place where you cannot afford and live above your means. I was living by myself then. I discovered I don't like paying that amount of rent. I'm gonna get a roommate. And a couple months later, I got a roommate, split those fees in half. But again, that's all stuff that I could have done better research to discover, like, I could afford it, but do I really want to pay that in the long term? Because I promise you, you really don't. And so then, and again, all those numbers will change. So in that first column you see, it was like I had the amount, and then I had another column was like the actual amount I spent on all of that. I was able to find some of my furniture cheaper, which I'll hop into in a second. The rent didn't change. Georgia Power actually cost less than I thought it was, and the rest of my fees were pretty much the same. But it was important that I had done so much research, because again, and I'm gonna keep going back to this research point. Research. Depending on when you sign your apartment, they'll have specials. So it's like, oh, if you sign your lease today, like, you'll get half off month's rent, or like a free month's rent. Like, look for those specials and kind of like watch their websites, because they'll come up on their websites like, oh, or if nothing comes up, don't be afraid to ask, oh, do you have any specials running right now? Do you have any specials that are going to be running soon for signing leases? Because typically almost every apartment lease that I've seen does run specials, and so signing those can save you a pretty penny, because again, a free month's rent, that's an extra $1,000 you've saved, and $1,000 can go a real long way. And so then, to bounce back to one of them, furniture will probably be one of your most expensive costs besides rent. If you decide to move into a traditional apartment, you also have the option of moving into student housing, which is an entirely different beast. I've lived in a traditional apartment and I've lived in student housing. I prefer traditional apartments. Student housing is less expensive it's like a give and take. And again, if you want me to do a whole video comparing traditional housing versus student housing, I can. Student housing typically comes furnished, so you eliminate a lot of costs, but student housing is also like the price is hiked up. So I live in a 4-bedroom unit and I spend like $850 a month. But if I lived in a traditional apartment in a 4-bedroom unit, or in a house in a 4-bedroom house, I would be spending less. But also, like, it came with furniture and it came with a bunch of other amenities that like are specific to student housing. And you can also sign your leases differently, because you can pay with financial aid directly and have it deferred. With student housing, not something you can't do with traditional apartments, but like I said, it's a give and take. But back to furniture, I have another spreadsheet that will pop up on the screen right there, and this actually for my new apartment where I'm moving to soon. This is all the furniture I want. I made a nice little mood board, and I looked up room inspiration. I went and calculated, okay, I want a gold canopy bed, I want this type of thing, and that's just approximately how much everything costs. And then I will go through and I'll have them all linked, and I will go through and I will start finding cheaper. So I know to refurnish, it's like my second round of buying furniture, it's $880. I don't want to spend $880 on new furniture, so things will get cut. I will find cheaper versions of things. I will find things that look alike that aren't that expensive, and I think that is like the number one thing. But when it comes down like to legitimately the money aspect of it, it's just self-control. And I used to have these charts every month in terms of paying my rent, and was like, okay, I have this bill due, this bill due, this bill due, this bill due, and I would check it off as soon as I paid it. And I also opened up a secondary bank account that was solely for my housing expenses. And so when I got my refund check, I calculated approximately how much it would be this month, add a little bit extra, and then put all of that in a separate account for the rest of the time that I would live there, to pay that rent for the rest of the time I was there. So I didn't have to worry about it any further than that, because I did not want to get caught up, oh, I spent this money, oh, I spent that money, and now my rent's due and I ain't got no money to pay it. And now you're getting evicted, you're messing up your credit, or you then have to scramble and ask other people for money, so on and so forth. And those are pretty much the major keys to finding and being able to pay for an apartment. Again, be on the lookout for videos about roommates, because roommates do drastically drop your costs. And I will have a video with I have 4 roommates. 2 of them have already moved out, so I will have a video with one of my roommates up next Tuesday as a continuance of the series. And I will also be doing an apartment hunting vlog where I can show you some great apartments in Atlanta. And by the time it goes up, I will have picked where I'm moving next, and so I probably won't include my next apartment in that vlog just for safety purposes. So I will be listing, if requested, the names of the other apartments I looked at, and so on and so forth. And I will see you all in Saturday's video.